What's going on? Ryan here, setthepacetriathlon.com again. 70.3 Washington sports fans. The date is fast approaching. Here it is, September 2nd at the time of this video. If you're watching it on YouTube later, so we are about 17 days away, if I can do my math right, away from race day. And the athlete guide has been posted. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the athlete guide because I think it's important. You see all these questions being asked in the Facebook group, and 99% of them will be answered in the athlete guide. So what I like to do is kind of dig through it a little bit, kind of hit it at the high level. I'm not going to go into every single little detail. I'm not going to read it to you word for word. But I want to point out some little details as I'm going through I think might be key or important, and pages you should print and maybe you shouldn't print because sometimes it's kind of large and you don't need to print out the whole thing. So let's dive right into it. So if you're looking at the page, the Ironman.com, you can search up 70.3 Washington, come up with this page, go to athletes, you go to athlete guide, and they've got the event schedule, but the event schedule is in the athlete guide, so you don't necessarily need to go to that by itself. I always like to go and just open up the PDF, because on the website you can't see all the pages. But with the PDF, what I do is I also save it to my computer for later, just in case, I don't know, the internet goes out or something like that, you want to print it off later or something goofy. So you'll notice you can't see it on the screen. Well, maybe there at the very top you can see it's 55 pages. So if you printed this off, it would be quite a bit. So I'm just going to go through and say either print this page and not print this page. It's kind of obvious. If it's a big old advertisement, I don't print the page. So just going to roll through, hit the highlights, and we're going to kind of look through it and see what the athlete guide will help give us. So table of contents, so you can print that off if you want to. But like I said, I don't print off all the pages. I just go print off certain ones at a time, so it's not that big of a deal. If you want to get to know your race director, you can read up about Corey Feldberg all you want. It's good to have. I mean, if you're traveling, if you're flying and need some material to read on the plane or something like that, it's always good to print this off too. Whenever I'm flying to an event or whatever, it's a good time to kind of revisit the athlete guide and check out the important information in there. So the event schedule, so the event is on Sunday, September 19th, but they open up on that Friday before. So they open up 2 days before. You can do check-in or whatever. Bike drop-off is usually that Saturday before a race or day before a race. Personally, I always like to try to get there 2 days before, so you got a whole day. If something comes up, you've got time to handle it. If a bike problem comes up, you need to try to find a bike shop or something like that, you need a tech to help you out, or just get your bearings or whatever, especially if this is your first 70.3 or maybe your second or something like that. It's just kind of rough to get there the day before a race and then get checked in, get your bike checked in, everything squared away, and then turn around and race the next day. I've done that before. I did that for Indian Wells 70.3. I flew in the morning of, coming from Kansas City out to California, losing some time. I was jet lagged, I was tired, I was dragging my bike around because I had to ship there and I had to get it, and luckily I didn't have to totally disassemble it. But by the time I got it back, got it assembled and ran around, did all the drops and everything, turn around and get something to eat, went to bed, and it was race day the next day, and my back was killing me. It was just no fun. So I recommend getting there at least the day before or 2 days before the event, because the Ironman Village opens up. So if you get there in the morning, you got time to kind of settle in and do whatever, maybe pick up some groceries or something like that. So 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Athlete Village parking. So notice they have the address. So what I like to do is always check out where you're going. Google Maps. This is why I like to do it on my computer. So if we zoom out, see it's close to Lake Wilderness, but it is not in Lake Wilderness. It is Lake Wilderness Elementary School, it's looking like. So this is where Athlete Village parking will be, and then check in, you have to walk down to Lake Wilderness area. So a little bit of a walk, so just be ready for that. Budget a little bit of time to make that walk. If the weather holds to what it usually says, it's going to be in the upper 60s, lower 70s, so the weather shouldn't be that big of a problem. So 2:30 to 7 p.m. athlete check-in, so you get there a little bit early so you can walk there and you can be there as soon as they open the gates for athlete check-in. I've kind of done that before, and that's the biggest line. I mean, right now you should be getting an email with a link to active.com, so you can go in and pick a time slot. they like you to stay in that time slot. Make sure you save your QR code. If you don't make that time slot, it's not the end of the world. I'm not going to necessarily penalize you for it or anything like that, but try to make that if you can. So 2:30 to 7, athlete check-in at Lake Wilderness Park. So notice everything is at Lake Wilderness Park. The parking is at that, we showed you on Google Maps. It's close to Lake Wilderness Elementary School, so make sure you're paying attention to the signs when you get there. So if you get there a day before the race, 7:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. So athlete village parking, all this stuff. I might do a separate video. We'll just talk a little bit more in depth about the schedule and kind of things to hit. But usually the way the race has been going for 2021 is you get the check-in time slot, you show up there, and then they have little slips of paper with different bike drop-off times for Saturday. So you pick one of those papers up, and then, again, if you don't make it, they're not going to hold your feet to the fire necessarily, but try to make that time. They're trying to spread everybody out so it's not a big cluster F trying to drop off all the bikes and everything. So athlete check-in is 8 to 5, and then Ironman Village, mandatory bike check-in 8:30 to 5:30 p.m. So by 5:30 p.m., if you don't have your bike checked in, you can't race unless you have set up special circumstances with the race director to bring your bike in race day. If you don't check it in on Saturday by 5:30 p.m., you can't race. So just be aware of that. Another thing I was going to say, Athlete Village, that's another reason to get there 2 days before the race because the good gear is going quick. People are starved for racing in 2021 with 2020 being what it was. So make sure you are ready. And if you see something you like, you better grab it and buy it because it ain't going to be there for long. So I'm just going to put my 2 cents worth in Ironman Village. So this is all the information here. Now I would check and just be flexible. Check the Facebook page. They might update this. So if you print this off like a couple weeks before and then something changes, they might change it in the guide. So just be aware. Now there's been something posted about mask mandates for anything outdoors and gatherings. So you might check on that to just make sure if you need a mask, just bring one just in case. Have stuff in your pocket, and if you need it, bring it out, and it's no big deal. So right now it doesn't look like Athlete Village is requiring it, but that might change. So just be aware of that. I say that because on race day, shuttle parking lots, race day shuttles will be assigned to athlete check-in. Face masks are required to ride the bus shuttles or shuttle buses. So if you looked, there's really not necessarily the best parking. All this is like green space, so they probably don't want you parking on. It's on a golf course. There's probably not that big a space for up to 3,000 people necessarily, depending on the athletes are coming in. So the race day shuttles will be assigned an athlete check-in. So make sure you're paying attention to that and you're parking in the right spot. They open up at 4 a.m. Earlier the better. Face masks are required on the ride to shuttle buses. So make sure you're paying attention to that. Transition opens up, swim start, athlete food, mandatory bike and gear checkout. Award ceremony for Ironman World Championships in 2022. You must be there in person. They used to do it at the beginning of this year. You could do it in email roll down, but now you must be there in person. So just make sure you know the schedule of events and what to do and when to do it. So athlete check-ins, got all the information. Got the address again, what to bring, check-in screening, athlete check-in steps. So this has all the information of if you didn't get your QR code, and it's got the email for the race director to contact. If you didn't get anything, Washington 70.3 at Ironman.com. If you didn't get any of your check-in information, they got emergency phone hours. So make sure that you've got this, you printed this page off for the contact information. If something comes up, check-in's kind of messed up, or you're going to be late, or your flight didn't make it in time, you didn't make your connection, your bike didn't show up, something. I mean, you're not going to get it until Saturday night. This is where you need to get your information to contact anybody if you got problems. Advertisement, wouldn't print that page. Pre-race questions they're going to ask. It's kind of the standard stuff by now, so just be aware. Pre-race info, address, Ironman Village information. A link to the Ironman Village section to see who's there. Athlete briefings, so they're having athlete briefings, but they say mandatory, and some are doing virtual briefings, so make sure you pay attention to the Facebook pages. They'll usually post the briefings there too as well. Pre-race parking, so that's going to be important, where to park. Mandatory bike check-in, personal safety, that's good information. Another advertisement, wouldn't print that page. Race day info, race morning procedure. This tells you everything you need to go. Body markings, they're not doing body markings this year. in 2021. That may or may not come back. Who knows? So far, it's been successful without the body markings. Race day parking. So again, this is going to be important stuff. They keep putting this everywhere in the athlete guide. So make sure you're paying attention to the race parking, because that's going to be important. The earlier you're there to park, the better off you are. So you're not stuck at the last minute and you're not running around with your head cut off trying to get there and get set up before the race. Wouldn't print the advertisements. You can hear that. My dogs are playing in the background, so please ignore that if you can. Race day info, timing, cutoffs. Whenever you swim, you still got the same amount of time. It's just you may be pushing the hourly time cutoffs for the course. So don't sweat it. Seed yourself correctly. Don't get swam over in the swim, because you still get an hour and 10 minutes. All the bike cutoff, run cutoff information. So if that's going to be an issue for you, make sure you read up on this. Timing chip will not be in your packet. You must stop at the timing table before leaving the athlete check-in area to pick up your chip. At the timing table, we verify your name matches your number. So make sure you pick up your timing chip when you pick up your packet. Ironman Tracker app. I love that thing. Download it so you can keep track of everybody. Wetsuit optional races. Looking at the weather, it's probably going to be wetsuit legal, so just make sure that you bring your wetsuit at this point in time. I pretty much, if the weather holds true, it's going to be wetsuit legal. Post-race info, all your checkout stuff, lost and found, medical, 10 volunteers. Read about medical, because you don't need medical until you need medical. So make sure you know your information on that, just in case. But print that page. And we're waiting for my computer to catch up with all these graphics. I don't print that page. Relay. If you're doing the relay, I'd print this off and make sure you have it so you know all the information for the relay. Qualifying for 70.3 World Championships. 2022 qualification is different than 21. Less slots, different application process. Make sure you read that if you think you're going to be qualifying for 70.3 Worlds. 2022 is in St. George again, but they got less qualifying slots per race, so make sure you're paying attention. You got to be there in person to claim it. No ifs, ands, or buts. So print that page if you want that information. What I like to is it's got all the course maps in here. So the swim, I've gone over that. Again, the wetsuit information, swim course rules, all that kind of good stuff. I definitely print that off and have it. Print this page off. Just like I said, I print anything off that has good information in there, and don't print the advertisements, because you end up with about 20 pages of good information. The rest is just advertisements, so I wouldn't print it off personally. So we've gone on the bike course. It's one loop, so make sure you know the course. And again, if they changed it, especially if I've done a review of the course or anything within the past few months, they might come back and change it. So, always check the course maps, and in Ironman Village, usually they have big blown up maps of the most current map and situation going on, so it's one loop. So, turn-by-turn directions, elevation on the course. So, just check the maps when you get to Ironman Village and make sure that that's still true. Always print those off just in case. Bike course rules, position rules, watch the drafting, because we're really watching that this year, so just make sure that you're watching your drafting. Location of the PTS will be stated pre-race. Athlete will report the next PT. Tell PTR when you were showing your blue card. So that's all the information. If you get cards, blue cards, and whatever, and disqualifications. Rule of thumb: don't litter and don't draft off of people, and you won't have to worry about the bike rules. And pretty much takes care of itself. So the bike course, all the information you ever want to know about the bike course. So just make sure you read that. Everybody's always asking, can I have headphones? Athletes may not use communication devices at any time, including cell phones, smartwatches, and Bluetooth-enabled or smart helmets and two-way radios. So no smartwatches. Now, it's a little bit in the gray area. If you use your smartwatch to do all your tracking and stuff for, GPS and everything, I think that's a little bit different. But they don't want you using it to get information on the course that can maybe help you if you're qualifying for Worlds or something like that. So no phones, no headphones, all that kind of stuff. So if you don't do it, take it at your own risk, whatever, but this is the page with all the information about the bike course and the rules. Cycle Smart information. It's always good to kind of read over that. More stuff. Bike store and tech. This is why I say get there as soon as possible, 2 days before possible, because they got Play Try on site, and they can check your bikes out. They can make sure everything's up and running, and if you got issues, take it in as soon as possible and get it addressed and fixed, because they are going to be slammed as soon as people start showing up. So another advertiser wouldn't print that off. Run course, talked about that. Looks pretty shaded. This is a nice trail system. Lots of crushed gravel, from my understanding. Very hard packed. A lot of people run there often, so it should be a beautiful run course. But that's the map. Elevation. Run course rules. So print that off. There's a few different ways that you could get, pinged, especially littering is a big thing. If you litter outside the aid stations, just don't do it because you could get penalized. So just know that, cutoff rules, all that good stuff. Overall rules. So again, I would print this, read them. It changes per course. So there may be different circumstances, and cities are different, counties are different, states are different, and there's sometimes some little nuances that if you don't know about, it could kind of mess you up during the middle of the race when you get there and you're just like, oh crap, I didn't know that. That is so weird or odd. More than likely it's in the rules. So make sure, print this off. Athlete Guide has everything you want to know. Physically challenged open division, so if you're doing that, this is your information, print this off and have it. Violations, print this off, know what it is, just in the event you get some sort of penalty or something. Again, the medical policy. You don't need medical until you need medical. So read this. I wasn't aware of all the details and everything until I'm in Texas 2014 and ended up in the medical tent. So make sure you have it. Make sure you know it. All-World Athlete, if you're going for all-World Athlete status or you have it, this is your information. This point in time, you're not getting specialized racking. You're getting the number they assign to you when you show up to do your athlete check-in. So they're just whatever number's up, that's what number you get assigned, and then they send you out. Because just the whole social distancing and everything, checking in online, they're just not assigning numbers until you show up on the race site. So a little bit of a bummer, you don't get your name on your bib and all that kind of fun stuff, but we'll survive somehow. Frequently asked questions. So if you got, I would check these out just before you post it in the Facebook group. Check the athlete guide because more than likely it's going to be there somewhere. Advertisement. Athlete checklist. Now I've gotten plenty. I've published them everywhere on my websites, Facebook pages, everywhere. So if you need a checklist, they've got one for you. You can print all that stuff off. It'd be great. Have some sort of checklist. If you don't use mine, use theirs. Have one. It helps you out. Another advertisement. See if the last page is any good information. Another advertisement. So notice the last 4 or 5 pages are nothing but advertisements. So again, this is what I do. I go through the athlete guide. I read it first. I check out the information. I say, okay, this is important. This is not important. And then I print off each individual page just because I don't want to waste my paper and ink. Because a lot of these are advertisements and are full pages and it just kills my printer. But I always like to print off the front page because it looks nice, looks impressive and whatever. You can carry it around. Like I said, I print off the athlete guide. If I have any questions, I check there first. And then